need something, I go back in here. Oh, thanks. Whenever I go back in here, I see this stuff, and I will save them, right? So I wanted to talk about a couple things that, we're going to talk about mindset here in a minute, but also, just so you guys know, on page 157, if you can see my own notes over here, I always have notes in this book about whatever I've heard agents talk about, top agents. On page 157 is the breakdown of how you should be running your organization based on like cost, right? And one of my notes on this page says, this is historically proven, deeply researched data. And so I'm not going to do a class on like cost right now, but this is on the section of earn a million. So how do you actually earn a million? Right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am on.
You are, except you need to hop off the computer.
I already did that.
Okay, there you go. Hi, my dear.
I swore that was an experience I could not get past. I'm like, this is not going to happen again.
Okay, so let me just finish this thought here real quick. What I wanted to say is cost and expenses. And one of the things that if you were in business with us on Champagne, remember when we first went into lockdown and the first thing that Gary said is go cut your costs, right?
Right.
And so, so I just wanted to bring this up to your guys' attention. One of the things that we did right when we were going into lockdown and we had no idea what was going to happen was go pull your bank statements and red light, green light yourself, right? And so what that means is go through your bank statements and make sure that all of the things that are on auto pay and things that you were like, anything you could cut, he was basically like, just cut it now. Don't wait to cut it because it's too late. Once you've been spending that money for no reason, basically what Gary was saying, don't wait to cut it. You want to cut it now so that you have that money because you just don't know what's gonna happen, right?
Right.
So I remember going through my bank statements 2 years ago, and I had things like water on auto pay. Water. So I had Hint water going to the office in boxes every month from Amazon. I had other things like vitamins on auto pay. I had blah, 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 all this stuff. Well, when I started the exercise though, I really didn't think I had anything to cut. Like I was like, all right, I'll do it because they're telling me to do it. But I really didn't think I had anything. And I ended up cutting, I think it was like $240 per month from my auto pay stuff. Do you remember if you cut anything, Champs?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I think everyone just panicked and started doing all kinds of things because we don't realize how much money goes out the door until you start going through your bills and realizing, oh yeah, I got to do this. I got to do that. I mean, down to the fumigation that goes to my properties, to me, I was like, wow, I spend a lot of money every month. No wonder I need to make XYZ dollars every month because there's a lot of expenses. So the minute I got a hold of my expenses, I was like, okay. But I'll let you finish your thought. I've got a different thought with that whole thing, but go ahead, finish.
Yeah. So my point is that, just like you just said, like I literally thought, oh, I don't probably have that much to cut. Like really, maybe Netflix or Hulu is what I was thinking. And actually what I realized that I had 2 Netflix accounts. I had that, like things that were going out and you don't realize, the point is that you don't realize them until you're there. And so people have gone before us and we need to know that all we really need to do is listen and do the things that people are telling us to do to be successful. And so not letting those limiting thoughts get in the way of all of that. And that is kind of like what we talk about always, you and I, right? And that's what we wanted to talk about on today's club too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think we always talk about mindset. And it's easy to talk about mindset when everything's good, right? because it comes easy. I mean, real estate, let's face it, and you've heard it before, real estate is not a hard job. You just have to follow up, and you need to do what it needs to get done. Now, when it gets hard is like when there's a shift. Mind
Mhm.
you, I want to remind everybody on the phone call, this is a shift. The
Mhm.
world is not going to implode, you know.
Yeah.
The reality is I've lived through a couple of these. Oh God, I don't want to age myself, but I've lived through a couple of these. And I can tell you right now that a whole bunch of agents are going to drop out
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
they're going to tell themselves a story. And we all do. By the way, I tell myself the same story. There,
Mhm.
we're not immune to any of this. This is a this is a pandemic in a different area. This is a
Right.
pandemic of the brain. Like, what story are you gonna tell yourself? And are you gonna come down with the virus? You know? So if you're gonna go ahead and buy into the story that you're gonna tell yourself, you're gonna come down with that virus, and then you're gonna have to show the reaps of what you haven't done or you've done. So just kind of, it's hard. That part of it is hard because you've got to switch that part of you and say, I'm not going to tell myself that story, that it's hard, that it's difficult, because guess what? It is a known fact that, and I'm not coming up with these numbers. I'm not a financial guru. It's a known fact that during any inflationary times, real estate has historically gone up.
Mhm.
How does it go up? Does it go up by itself, or is someone selling it? Does someone selling it? Now, a lot of people get out of the market, but the ones that stick around, that stay in here and do the work and do what needs to get done and tell themselves a different story, make the bulk of the money. Look, how many times now that the pandemic's over did you say, I should have done more? Because
Mhm.
you were thinking that there wasn't going to be any business, and it was historically the most ridiculous time to sell real estate. This
Yeah.
is exactly like that time, only it's flipped. Now it's going to be less agents, and you're going to
Uh-huh.
have that amount of people that are going to need to buy, sell, because no matter what, people are going to buy, sell, people pass
Invest.
away, they have to, they want to
Move.
invest. Right
Yeah.
now, apartments are going to be the key for people that want to shelter some of those dollars. But that's that's a story you want to tell yourself.
Right. So, skip back to what you were saying about don't you wish you had done more, right? And isn't that the thing like about mindset? We're always like, oh, if only I had started last year with whatever, whether it's working out, whether it's starting a book, whatever it is that you wanted to do, starting to go door knocking, starting farming, any of these things, we're always like, oh, what if I had started doing this last year? I mean, I think about this every morning when I take my dogs out for a walk, and I'm like, my God, I've been doing the same loop in the same neighborhood for 2 years now since the pandemic started. And I'm always like, had I dropped off flyers like even every other week, say, just every other week, right? Uh, oh my God, right? That would have been a great way to farm. And I'm always like, wow, I don't know what kept me from doing that. And it was just there sometimes there is no reason. And you're just like, why didn't I do that? And so
Right.
that's why when we're thinking about the mindset and we're thinking about well, we are thinking hopefully about those kinds of questions. Um, it's usually just the difference of do or do not, right? It's very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
people, go ahead.
hold on real quick before you say anything more. Tell everyone when you got into real estate, by the way, where you're at, and also tell them what you did before you got into real estate.
Where should I start? Before?
Sure.
Um, well, I was a marketing director over at AOL Time Warner, and I did very well. I'm a Latina woman that happened to have climbed the corporate ladder, and that was all great and fantastic. But I was haunted by a gentleman that had asked me a question, and his question was, Champagne, do you want to make more money, or do you want that title of, marketing director, etc.? And being a young Latina girl that hadn't had too much, or had those titles, or went to the that really high-end college, I'm like, oh, I want the title, and so yeah, I went with the title. And at some point I had met kind of like the glass ceiling in corporate America, and my next move was to go to back east. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, nobody leaves California to go to back east. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stay here, because I climbed the corporate ladder and they were going to give me yet one more promotion to Connecticut. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay in California. And I told my boss, is there any way you could help me kind of get severanced out so that I can start my own business? And he goes, what are you going to do? I said, real estate. He goes, oh my God, I think you'd be perfect at it. So with that, he gave me a woman, a book that was written by a woman about, empowerment and business and so forth. And I started my real estate career, and realized very quickly that you cannot do this part-time.
Yeah. Well, you can, but it's not that what you put in is what you get out, right? So what you were trying to do wasn't coming part-time. Yeah.
So then I started at another company, Century 21. I was there probably about 7 or 8 years. And I was the rookie of the year, if you will. And then came over to Keller Williams. They brought me over when I was doing short sales, and then I started teaching short sales for a while. And here we are. The good thing is that I got to experience the difference between the different companies in terms of real estate. There is a difference, and we're lucky to be where we are, because as someone told me, we are a university disguised as a real estate school or a real estate company.
And we are, and you can be a professional university goer here and never sell a thing if you go to every little class there is.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah, you need to go apply it. Go do the work. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. So I've been doing this for 20 plus years. That's it. You're not getting any more information out of me in regards to how.
Okay. All right. So mindset. So you and I, okay, so Shams and I, we get together and we're like, okay, what's going on? What needs to happen? What are you doing? And I know that you've always recognized the accountability piece of real estate, like very hardcore. And that's kind of like why you and I will call each other and be like, hey, dude, what are you doing today? Are you making your calls? Are you doing your stuff? Like what's going on? Like, like she'll be on her morning, you're cooking breakfast and I'm taking the dogs out, and we'll be like, okay, what are we doing today? And so talk to me a little bit about, or we'll talk to everybody a little bit about the mindset accountability piece.
Well, I think it's a great thing to have people that are so self-driven, and we have a lot of the in our company. I mean, you take a look around, those are the people that are making a grip of money every month consistently. And then there's those of us that probably are not as consistent, but we definitely kick it out of the park when we have to. And that just all goes into the mindset that, where we have to continuously hold ourselves accountable to ourselves or to other people. Now, my recommendation in that arena, because we all struggle with that, it's not an isolated issue, is that if you've gone to any of our meetings, like, oh, find your big why. Well, I would say find your big why when it comes to your accountability, because your accountability, it really makes all the difference in the world. When I had 2 kids at toe, there was no choice. I had to make my money happen because I got 2 little kids. Of course, my kids are
Yeah.
grown, so you have to find all new reasons, right? So find whatever it is that makes you aspire to hold yourself accountable. In my case, obviously, I call you and I go, hey, listen, this is what I got to do. This is what I'm going to do. So if I text you and it sounds like Tourette's happening, like all of a sudden, called someone, you know that I'm holding myself accountable for these things. And
Yeah.
it's important to have that. And I think that plays across the board. I mean, I think you brought up losing weight, and I'm like, I always struggle with that. So I'm like, okay, today I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, and it's going to take me to where I need to go. Listen, whatever you do, whatever it takes to get it done, because even if it doesn't throw you fully forward, at least it doesn't put you all the way to the back.
Right. It's you keeping your promise to yourself in your head.
Exactly.
Right. And like,
Yeah.
so then, you can do other things. But you said something really important, which is you text me, right? So like, I'm not going around as a coach or as a friend or whatever going, hey, Champagne, like, what are you doing? 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 You're not expecting someone to whoop you into shape. What you're telling me is, hey, I want you to hold me accountable to these things. And that's so interesting that you said that, because literally on stage 2 weeks ago in Boston, one of the things that the people who were on stage, who had been vetted, who had been, all of their books were open. These are people that are actually grossing and netting money, not just grossing it and spending all of it on, their team or whatever. They're actually looking at financials before they're letting these people on stage. One of the things that they were talking about is, how do you hold yourself accountable in these kinds of times? And most of them said either a group chat or text messages to other people. Those were the top 2 answers from multiple people who are very successful, even the team leaders, like the team owners, the people who ran big teams or solo agents. And they all said, text somebody. Don't expect someone to text you, like, what are you doing? Hunt you down. Don't tell somebody, hey, text me every night to see what I did today. No, you text them and say, here's what I'm doing today. What are you doing? Right. And I just thought that was such a great point, because it's so easy to fall into this, accountability means somebody checking up on if I did the things that I said I was going to do. But in reality, it's yourself. And who are you telling every single day what you're going to do that day?
Well, it's also a boss move. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you wanted to live in corporate America, then you have to have someone else see how you're doing. But if you're the boss, you're checking in and making sure that it's getting done, right? So it's a total boss move. So it elevates your psyche a little bit to say, not only did I say I was going to do this, but I got it done. Next, like, it's a total boss move.
And isn't that like kind of the same thing that we do when we go on appointments? Like,
absolutely.
First of all, we set the appointment, right? Hey, Champagne, I'm coming over tomorrow at 4. Listen, I'll call you before I come, and we'll go from there. Then we'll talk about your house. And then you call them and you say, hey, are we still good for 4? I'm gonna head out there. Great. And then when you go on the door and you knock on the door, you say, hey, it's 4 o'clock. I said I was coming over at 4. It's 3:58. Here I am. And just by telling the person that that's what's happening, you're literally telling them, I keep my word. And you set yourself apart. You're like 99% ahead of all the other realtors out there at that point.
Yeah, because you're in charge of your time. You're respecting their time. You're accountable to yourself. You're accountable to them. You're that's a boss move. End of
Mm-hmm.
story. And I think it plays to so many different areas of this business, of this career. It, even if you have to deliver bad news, like, okay, I said I was going to call, you know, 45 people today and I only called 20. You're holding yourself accountable. It's a total boss move, no matter, even if you come short a little bit, because you're following up. Because listen, none of us want to make the phone call. By the way, we need to reduce the property $20,000. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
wants to make that phone call. But by conditioning ourselves to do something we really don't want to do, but we do it anyways, it's a total boss move.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So boss moves today, people. What's gonna be your boss move? And real quick, let's talk about how do you put yourself in that mindset of like, let's go. Like, let's go. Like, let's make this happen right now instead of putting it off anymore.
Um, that's a question for me.
Asking for a friend.
Asking for a
That's
friend.
yourself,
Well,
always.
okay, for me, if I don't just get up and do the routine, I would struggle with this in the beginning of my career. I remember I would just get up because it's so easy. In the beginning, when I was in corporate America, I was so regimented, right? But after
Right.
being in this business for a while, you kind of like, oh, I don't have to get up at that time if I don't want to. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens with that mentality is that everything then becomes, I don't have to really do that if I don't want to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say that your get up and go will get up and leave if you don't just do what you're supposed to do every day in some kind of regimented type of thing. If you eat breakfast at 8 o'clock, your stomach's going to feel it, right? You're going to like, that's your normal time. If you go for a walk, if the dogs have to go to walk for a walk at 6 a.m., you best believe you're going to have treats left
Mm-hmm.
around your house if you don't. So
Mm-hmm.
treat your business kind of like it has to be done at a particular time, because if you don't, everything else will be put off. I mean, I think these meetings that we have with Keller Williams, where we go and do bold and so forth, and they hold you accountable for making those 20 phone calls or the 100 phone calls, or 100 communications for the day. It really kind of throws that mentality of like, yeah, by the way, this is a this is your job, this is your business.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing with your business? If you say tomorrow, then you're putting off everything for tomorrow. Everything gets put off. You don't have that paycheck today. You want that paycheck today. How do I get that pay? You got to do the work today,
Mm-hmm.
so that every day is another day of paycheck.
So you're saying basically put yourself in a habit of having the same routine, the same regimen, and the same schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like that's such an important thing. I think it's so easy, right? Like because most people, right, we get in this business for the 3 F's, right? Finances, freedom, and flexibility. And most people want the freedom and the flexibility right away. Unfortunately, you can't really have that until the finances come. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting there going, I have all this freedom and no money and nothing to do with this freedom, right? So I think that that's such an important point. I think for anybody who's trying to go, how come I can't get something done right now? It's what are you doing every single day? How are you structuring your day? How are you setting yourself up to win the day? Like, is it you being Mark Zuckerberg who like sets out, or Steve Jobs or whoever, who sets out his one black polo every night and he doesn't have to make a decision about that, and he's like, that's it, I'm getting dressed and I'm gonna go, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for going to the gym. Like, where's your gym bag? Like, instead of saying I'm gonna go to the gym every day for 2 hours, you're going to say at 4:30, I will be in my car, in my gym clothes every day. That's it. Because
Mm-hmm.
how easy is it to go from there? So really, it's just that habit building. That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. It, every habit that you have during the course of the day. I mean, everybody on this call, how many people are on this call?
14.
14.
14.
14. Yeah.
What are you doing today to better your tomorrow? What is it that you're doing today that's going to better your tomorrow in regards to real estate in particular?
And I think that that's such a great question, because honestly, if you're thinking about what you're going to do today, now you're gone. You're done. Like
That's true.
in my opinion, you cannot get up at 8 a.m. and decide what you're going to work on today. I mean, maybe if you're like a superhuman, you can, but like not really. If you didn't have a plan for today, that's okay. Then plan tomorrow. Have the
Right.
plan for tomorrow, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's really,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, go to sleep with a dream, wake up with a purpose. End of
There you
story.
go.
And
Go
and
to sleep with a
if
dream, wake up with a purpose.
you know, and if you could just plan your tomorrow now, like you say, I mean, because that's huge, right?
Mhm.
Then you're probably going to execute things a little bit better, because you'll be like, oh, I wish I would have. Because how many times have you walked into a room and you're like, I wish I would have done this better. I could have done this issue or this thing better if I would have just known, you know. But you can
Yeah.
plan. You can plan better.
So for the weekend, you guys, I know we're at the bottom of the hour. For the weekend, what can you do right now to set yourself up so that you can find a piece of business this weekend? Right? Go out today, go find your open house, go make your door knocking flyers.
Birthday parties work good too. Birthday parties, the
Yeah.
gym. You go to happy hour, talk about real estate. They all work really well.
Yeah.
Call your
Yeah.
friends, you know.
Any socializing that happens over the weekend, right? So plan, make it a plan, be purposeful, don't be entrepreneurial. So meaning don't just go to the happy hour, decide how many business cards you're going to take from that happy hour, collect and put them into your database, right? I mean, that's really the more purposeful way to do it. So yeah, hopefully that's inspiring. I think that, you know, the mindset piece and the self piece of it is so important, and Champagne and I always talk about that, so I wanted to make sure that I have her on here for that. So thank you for being our celebrity this morning, and I appreciate all of you guys being here. Hopefully tune in every single day. Tune in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whichever day you can, and get the mindset on the roll from here. And yes, you can get great ideas from these calls on what you can do that day.
Be a boss.
However, yeah, be a boss, but be a boss, right? Like be your own boss and get on the call, so that even if you don't feel like you're like, okay, I can't win today, still get on the call, because guess what? It's going to help you win tomorrow. Just like you said.
Go to sleep with a dream and wake up with a purpose.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Make it a powerful Friday. So plan your tomorrows, plan your Sundays, and then we're going to see you back here for Monday. We'll talk more about DTD2 and what we're supposed to be doing next week. But plan, and set yourself up for success. Thank you. Sleep with a dream. Wake up with a purpose. Love that. Right. Thank you,
Sonia.
Champagne.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.